and welcome to Pale Blue Pod, the astronomy podcast for people who are overwhelmed by the universe but want to be its friend. I'm your host, Dr. Moiya McTier. I'm an astrophysicist, a folklorist, and a good friend to the universe. The universe and I just went to Beyonce's concert, the Cowboy Carter Tour, which is why my voice is hoarse. The universe was also screaming, but the universe has endless vocal cords, so it's fine, of course. But in case you were wondering what's going on with Moiya's voice, that's it. I had a lot of fun. I am recording this episode from my office here at Pale Blue Podiversity, and I'm expecting a special guest. I'm going to be joined by Dr. Claire Aubin, a historian and host of the podcast This Guy Sucked. She should be here any moment. I believe I hear her walking down the hall. Claire, welcome. Come on in.
It's so great to be here. And boy, are my arms tired from flying across the universe.
Oh, yes. I forgot to mention that the Pale Blue Podiversity is, we're connected to the restaurant at the end of the universe. And you got to travel far if you miss the train.
That's the cafe. That's the university cafe. The sandwiches are great.
And, they're stellar. Absolutely. Claire, what else would you want people to know about you before we get into the episode?
I would consider myself, I've been using this phrase a lot recently, a general enthusiast. I love to learn about lots of different things and talk about different things. So it means that my interests are, I would describe as like incredibly varied, which will play into what we're going to talk about today. But I like a lot of things, and I feel very passionately about a lot of things beyond just my own research and history as a sort of topic and as a discipline. So I love a Wikipedia hole, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you can lose a Saturday afternoon easily with that.
No problem. Whole weekend.
Okay, so you are passionate. That's what you want the listeners to know. I love it. Are you passionate about this movie that we both watched? So today, listeners, we're discussing the Bond film Moonraker.
I am incredibly passionate about this film. And I should start by saying it is my least favorite Bond film, which is part of why this is such an exciting thing to talk about. I am passionate about James Bond in general, about the whole franchise in general. I feel very, very strongly about it. This film in particular, the reasons for which we will discuss, is a particularly terrible Bond film, which is part of why we love it.
I was really worried when I was watching this movie because I thought it was one of your favorites. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't want to have to ruin one of her favorite movies.
No.
Okay.
To love James Bond is sort of a masochistic thing. Like, you like James Bond because James Bond movies are, for the most part, really terrible. They're really quite bad. But that's not why you don't watch them because they're high art. For the most part. You don't watch them because they're believable. You don't watch them because they get the science right, certainly.
Well, there are some concepts in here that I liked that we'll talk about.
I said this to Moiya before we recorded this. Like, I sent Moiya a message, and it said, I have so many out-of-pocket questions for you based on this film. And I'm so excited to talk about them because, I love this movie. I love James Bond and I love this movie, but it's the worst one of all of them, I would argue. And also, my family are gigantic James Bond fans, like huge. And when I told my mom that I was going to come on here and talk about Moonraker, she said, why? That's the worst one.
And you're like, that's why.
That's the point. That's why.
Awesome. Well, before we get into the Moonraker of it all, I want to get to know you a little better. I want the listeners to get to know you a little better. So I have some questions here. Are you okay answering them?
Of course I am.
Okay. You got to ask consent first. That is key. Question number 1. When you think about the vast universe that exists out there, how do you feel?
A strong sense of fear. I'm a fear-driven person. It's also how I feel about the ocean. So it's not the universe that's alone in this. It's really anything big, like sort of vast, that I can't really comprehend is how I feel. I feel afraid of it.
Oh, well, then you are very brave for coming on an astronomy podcast. Is it a type of fear that you want to work through, feel like you ever could work through?
Sure, absolutely. I will say a good example of this is that, you know how everyone has like an ultimate irrational fear, like ultimate irrational fear where like, you know, you will never, ever be in this scenario, but it chills you to your core?
I do now.
I'm sure that you have some, but you don't realize that they're that. My irrational fear is floating off into space. It's like I'm on a spacewalk out of my spaceship. Something happens and I'm in space.
Yeah.
That's my ultimate irrational fear, so we can understand my relationship with the universe.
Okay. No, I think that's fair. If that ever happened, yeah, you're shit out of luck.
Unfortunately, that's it for you.
Yeah, Gravity is not a realistic movie. That woman would not have survived. So yeah, I think that as long as you know you can avoid that by staying here on Earth, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty confident. Compared to a lot of people, I feel pretty confident that my irrational fear will truly never come to pass. Sorry, that one's not happening. So it's okay. That's also why I'm comfortable talking about it, because I'm like, well, I'm probably going to be, I'm marked safe from that one, you know?
Yes, you are. We will protect you here at the Podiversity from going into space.
Again, I flew so far to get here.
Well, you're very dedicated. We appreciate it. The next question gets a little personal. Do you feel like your zodiac sign, your sun sign, matches your personality?
No.
Thank you. Okay, tell me more. What's the mismatch?
I have a strong opinion on astrology, so perhaps I am a dangerous person to ask this question to, because I am, for those of you who aren't into history and philosophy, I'm a big fan of Theodore Adorno, who was famously a big astrology hater, and I agree with him on it. I don't think that my sun sign describes my personality, because I don't think it describes anybody's personality, basically, which is, I know, will be controversial to a lot of people, and I'm really sorry. You're allowed to have any opinion that you want to have. It's totally fine.
Come through.
You can feel anything. You can think anything, but I do think the danger is that it allows you to not take accountability and responsibility for choices you make in your own life. And it allows you to say that your personality is immutable. And I think that's not true. And the mutability of the human personality is what makes us human and wonderful. The fact that we can change and make choices to change is the most special thing about being a human. And so it makes me sad when people deny that. I will also say I'm a Leo, and a lot of people would say this is a very Leo thing to say.
From what I've learned about Leos, to go on a little rant like that, it does seem pretty in line.
But I will say there are a lot of other things that Leos are supposed to be that I'm not really. And so despite talking at people for a living, a lot of the other personality traits that I am allegedly supposed to have, I don't really have. I will also say that people then will say it's because that's your moon sign, or that's your rising, or whatever.
Right.
And I'll say, I don't believe in those either. So, I mean, yeah, people can say whatever. I'm not an astrology girl, personally.
Nice. I have been waiting for someone to come along who's like, no, I don't fit it. So thank you. That makes me really happy, because I do fit mine.
Oh, no.
You know? Are you passionate about any particular units of measurement? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, that's a good question. I like the kilometer.
Yeah.
I like the inch also, which I know is hard for a lot of people. I spent a lot of my life in the UK, which is a weird place for measurement because they use both metric and imperial units of measurement. I will never, ever understand Celsius, unfortunately, despite having lived there for that long. To me, Fahrenheit viscerally makes more sense, and I don't know why.
Scientifically, it does. It's because the difference between like 67 and 68 is actually more in tune with how our bodies discern differences in temperature.
You heard it here, folks. I'm right.
Science says yes.
Science says I'm right.
Okay, so are we going with kilometer?
I feel like. Well, I can also say I like Fahrenheit. Does that count as a unit of measurement? Temperature measurement?
A degree. Yes.
A degree. I like Fahrenheit degrees.
Okay, excellent. You're on the right side of history with that one.
Great. I try.
Okay, next question. What event in the universe's history? You can expand your repertoire. Which one would you most like to witness from the safety of the pale blue pod time and space transport machine?
Oh my God, that's so interesting. I don't think I've ever thought about that. Can we talk about things like pre-human history?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm talking about, the formation of our sun or
yeah, that's
like
the kind of thing
Bang.
I'd be interested in. I would be interested in that. I would also like to see what some planetary, at least Earth-wise planetary ice ages look like, because seeing that from space sounds like it would be an incredible view. I think that would be interesting. But yeah, I think I'd be more interested in the sort of geological stuff rather than human history, because most of human history is really horrifying to imagine watching, actually.
It actually did not cross my mind when I asked that question that you would pick something in the last 10 million years at all.
Well, that's what I'm here for. You say history, and I said, my kind? Or your kind?
Or my kind, exactly. Someone talking about a few thousand years ago as a long time with the heaviest air quotes, I'm like, what do you mean? That's yesterday.
Yeah, when I was like, do you want to come on and talk about someone ancient? You said, you mean recent, Ptolemy?
Yes. Look, it's okay. Studying space is going to skew your perspective of certain scales.
Well, yeah, it would.
Yeah, I think seeing the ice ages and like because you can also speed up time and slow down time in the transport machine. So you can do a time lapse of different ice ages if you would like.
That sounds great. I would love to. Or just like, I would like to do a time lapse of Earth, long before humans. To now, and just see things grow and change over time, because I love the idea of change being something that you can watch without needing to go through the horror of experiencing it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. We'll do that for you, and I look forward to seeing your report. Final question. Imagine you are an astronaut. We're launching you into space. Don't worry. It's very safe. You will be tethered the entire time.
Great.
Also, you're in charge of the music. So what song would you like to be playing while you blast off?
I'm a big jazz fan, and if I could play like a really solidly good jazz album, because I have a hard time choosing individual songs.
What type of jazz?
I like all kinds of jazz, but I think I would do either like 1920s Duke Ellington style jazz.
Ooh, okay.
Or like maybe some 70s. I love it. 70s Ethiopian jazz.
Wasn't expecting that.
Funky
I love
vibes.
That. Okay. Yeah, let's go funky vibes for space.
I would want something that's like, this is fun, everything's safe, this is going to be amazing, we want good vibes. I want to feel like I'm in a London cocktail bar in 1975.
We're going for a whole theme here. We're also going to get bell-bottom space suits and flowers everywhere in the rocket. All right. Okay, we figured it out. Excellent choice.
Also fits with the Moonraker thing. Like time-wise, chronologically.
Yes, it does. What a perfect segue. Okay. Let's get into Moonraker. This movie came out, 1979?
Yes.
What an interesting time 1979 was. I love looking at older movies and seeing, like, what can you tell about the political climate at the time or the social climate at the time based on, like, who the bad guys are.
Yeah.
And I watched this with my friend who does, like, international relations stuff, so she knows more about that than I do. And the whole time we were trying to figure out, like, what are they trying to say about Japan or like perhaps Korea with some of these characters? Like, what's happening there? There's a lot going on in this movie.
There is a lot going on.
So let's summarize it. Let's tell the listeners what they missed in case they didn't watch it.
Sure. You're so right. This comes out not at the peak or the height of the Cold War, but during the Cold War. So there are a lot of tensions that could be felt in the film because of that. It stars Roger Moore. For those of you who aren't familiar with James Bond, Roger Moore is the third James Bond after Sean Connery and George Lazenby. This is the 11th James Bond film. There are a lot.
I will say, my friend, when she saw this was my first time seeing Roger Moore, her immediate reaction was, that's the gayest James Bond I've ever seen.
The way I would describe much of what happens in Roger Moore's films is very camp, is the best way to describe it. And this film is particularly camp. So that's important to know. It is like I said, the 11th James Bond film. It's Moore's 4th James Bond film, though. So it's his 4th in the role of James Bond, because part of James Bond's thing is that different people play the role, and there are a lot of different theories around why that is and how that happens, etc. It is also the highest grossing Bond film of Moore's career. One of the highest grossing Bond films of all time. Yes.
This movie?
At this point, like by movie 11, it was the highest grossing James Bond film when it came out, and it was that for a while. It grossed $210 million, which is around $834 million today. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. People loved the camp.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It was also, if you think about the Cold War, the film is about, in part, space, which we'll get into, which is why we're here also. But it's partially about space, but also about people's anxieties around space, which is a big part of what happens is an undercurrent in James Bond films. And so because it comes out in the late 70s and there's still a lot of space race stuff happening, even though we've already reached the moon, there's still a lot of like tensions and anxieties around countries going to space and how they go to space and what it looks like and who owns space, and all of that is still happening. It actually provides a really interesting window into the time period and also explains why people are willing to spend so much freaking money on it.
Yeah. Thank you for that context. That's good to know.
That's my job. So do you want like a plot summary? Would that be helpful?
I think let's hit the beats. Spoilers ahead, folks.
Yeah, you've had many years to watch the film. So if you missed it, I'm so sorry. And to be honest, it's so wild that even going over what happens plot-wise is simply not going to give you what you need to have the film properly spoiled for you. I mean, spoiler, James Bond lives, because there are a million more James Bond films after this. So we don't need to worry about that one. It starts with bad guys stealing a space shuttle.
A space shuttle on a plane.
Yes, they steal a shuttle off of a plane. They were attached to one another. That shuttle is one of the Moonrakers. It's like the 6th Moonraker or something. There are several Moonraker space shuttles, and this is one of them. James Bond predictably jumps out of a different plane. This is happening at a different time in a different place. Predictably. We meet him jumping out of a plane onto the back of a parachuting bad guy who then they parachute together. Yes.
That scene was crazy.
Crazy. And this is how we first encounter him in the film. It turns out that plane number 1 that was carrying the space shuttle has crashed, but the space shuttle has not been found. The British government, understandably, is worried about a missing space shuttle. Enter space exploration manufacturing guy / cult leader, Hugo Drax. Sounds familiar. Just saying. There are some modern contemporary historical echoes, one might say, around this guy.
Unfortunately, there really, really are.
There are several, and we'll get into some of them later, but there are a lot, actually. He meets at Hugo Drax's house an incredible scientist, thinker, woman, Dr. Holly Goodhead, whose office is full of what I can only describe as overtly phallic but only vaguely space-related objects.
Yes, because she's on loan from NASA.
She
has an air of mystery, and who knows what she does.
And the thing that's crazy is at this point in time in the 70s, if you're on loan from NASA, that could actually also make you a villain. Can I just be clear? Based on my own research, you could also be a very bad guy.
But not Holly Goodhead.
Surely not. Next, I have written on my plot summary, Bond strapped into G-force machine and tortured.
Yes.
Then, everyone's out shooting with random evil space billionaires.
This is a part of the movie where I did get a little lost.
Yeah, easy, because it doesn't really have any bearing on the plot, so I don't really know why it's involved in it.
Okay, excellent.
An important thing to note, based on like something that you were saying earlier with your friend, everyone in the shooting scene and in Drax's house in general is in Western clothes, except his random Asian henchman who is inexplicably wearing a kimono for the entire film.
Yes. Like, why? What is happening
It's just overt Orientalism is what's happening. But it is wild to watch it now and be like, oh my God, like, what's that? What's going on? And it's his random evil henchman guy.
Yes.
So there's also like a servitude thing happening too. It's very bad.
Yes, one of Drax's 2 evil henchmen guys.
Yes.
The other being a literal giant with metal teeth.
Yes, and that's also not his first appearance in James Bond. So this is a character named Jaws, who has, I think, kind of a beautiful arc in this film, actually.
I agree. Yeah, in the middle, I was like, I hate this character, but by the end, I was like, no, that kind of made the movie.
No, I love him. But you start off being like, bad guy, stay away from my boy JB. And then later you're like, oh my God, what a sweet soul, actually. Because James Bond movies cannot stay in the same place, that's like part of the thing. He randomly goes to Italy, and they come up with some like strange conceit for why he has to go to Italy. There is a classic canal chase that happens through the canals of Venice. He has an amphibious spy gondola. We love.
Lots of boat chases in this movie, actually.
Yeah, a lot of boat chases, more than they usually, like normally you might see 0 to 1 boat chase per Bond film. This one has like 2 to 3. So they're really capitalizing on, I was going to say aquatic sports, but not that. Aquatic motor sports specifically. And the spy gondola helps us to also see, I think this is the first real instance. No, in the centrifuge he uses one, but part of James Bond's whole thing is that he always has gadgets that have been given to him by someone by Q, the real scientist of the film, him and Dr. Goodhead. But Q always like gives him these special gadgets, and Bond is like, why would I ever need this? And then magically, you come to learn it will be exactly the perfect item for whatever wacky hijinks he's up to. So that's what happens with the spy gondola situation. Then he goes to a space factory in Italy full of random jars of liquid and mysterious enzymes, labeled enzymes. There are rats for unclear, presumably scientific and nefarious purposes.
Right. This is the bio warfare.
Yes.
This is the bioweapon part. Okay.
Yes. There's a part in this a little later where they all go into this biohazard lab because they think there's going to be weapons, and then it's already been erased or replaced. But every single one of them puts their gas mask on wrong. Did you notice this?
I didn't. Were they on upside down or something?
No, they're like, one is like down on his chin, one is like really high, one is really loose. I watched it and was like, literally all 3 of these people have their gas masks on wrong. How did no one on set?
Right. Well, it makes it even more hilarious that there was no actual lab to walk into, and then they embarrassed James Bond in front of someone from high up in, is it MI6?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so next they go to Rio de Janeiro because we must go to another location, as we all
because
understand.
There haven't been enough scantily clad women in the movie.
Yes. And wouldn't you believe it? It's Carnival when they get to Rio.
Of course it is.
A shock. No one could have predicted that. Jaws, the character we talked about before, who is this giant with like big metal, like kind of a grill situation, but also the actor who plays Jaws has said that it was a deeply uncomfortable thing. So part of why he looks so scary, and this is because he actually was in deep pain while filming it, which we hate. So he chases him around. There's a crazy funicular scene where they're like in a funicular thing going up a mountain, and he's chasing him on these
funicular.
Am I using that wrong?
I've never heard that. I was calling them cable cars.
Yeah.
But like...
It's a funicular, which is a cable railway system. But I think funiculars have a track. So maybe it's a cable, maybe funicular is... Maybe that's if it's on a track.
It's a funicular now.
I think it's whatever. They're a floating funicular is what they're on, which is just a cable car.
The word sounds weird now when you say it.
I don't want a funicular. No, I can't. While this is happening, Jaws finds himself, this is key to the film, a blonde Brazilian baddie.
With Pippi Longstocking's hair.
With little glasses and Pippi Longstocking. She kind of has a German vibe to her, which also makes sense with Brazil at this point in time.
Right, like she basically was wearing a dirndl.
Yeah, essentially. Then James Bond hang glides over a waterfall, classic. And then he goes to a monastery in Brazil that is actually an MI6 training site. There's so much that happens in this movie before they even get to space. None of these things really have any bearing on each other. They just happen mostly, which is true of most James Bond films, especially the ones that happen pre-2000, we'll say. Then they go to a hidden temple-style oasis in the rainforest full of hotties who love outer space.
Yes, there are many, many beautiful women who are dressed like if the nurses from Pokemon were going to guest star on the Jetsons.
Yes. There's a sort of like space age aesthetic thing happening here, which is funny because that's actually more of like a 60s thing, but they're trying to do a 70s version of the space age, like Jetson vibe. I wrote down stage sets are undeniably cool as fuck.
They were. With that little grotto? Yeah, that was a cool scene.
It's cool. But they're also, on the downside, on the wah-wah side of that, they're also actively connecting a sort of hokey, imagined indigenous religious setting to space is also part of this. Cool sets, underlying vibe bad. We don't like that one.
Agreed.
So, okay, what happens next? JB and Holly Goodhead casually sneak onto Moonraker 6 with no trepidation. Unlike myself. They just get on a space shuttle. They're just like, oh, we're going to
go to space. That's fine. Yeah. Do I know how to pilot a rocket ship? No, it's fine. We're just going to follow the one in front of us.
Yeah. And not only are they on a space shuttle, they are flying the space shuttle, which I think is key to understanding this as well. James Bond can do anything. Holly Goodhead can do anything. We stan Holly Goodhead.
Yes, we do.
Dr. Goodhead, that's Dr. Goodhead to you. They can do anything. They're flying their space shuttle. And then there's a secret hidden space station that has really strong radar jammers, ?
Yeah, I like that they provided an explanation for this.
Yeah.
Like, it was cursory, but that's fine.
They were like, our floating space station city situation has radar cloaking.
Yeah, sure. And it's radar cloaking that they can disrupt later on.
Yeah.
So, good. I don't need to know the, like, nitty-gritty details of that.
Yeah. I wrote down, gold lame spacesuits are honestly giving Blue Origin bootcut girl boss.
That was a choice for their space aesthetic.
Yeah.
That Drax
Blue
made.
Origin watched Moonraker and they were like, how do we make this happen for Katy Perry? And they did.
Yeah.
I also watched this right after that happened, so it was really at the forefront of my mind when I was taking notes on this. Surprise, by the way, Jaws and his girlfriend are on the space station.
Well, yes, you need your henchmen in space.
This becomes key at one point. I also wrote down, they kind of just say random words that sound vaguely scientific, kind of like...
Oh, for the launch?
Yeah, kind of like the loading screen in Sims. And I wrote down some of the phrases. Solar photon screen.
That's a thing.
Great. Side lobe gain.
That could be a thing. I know what side lobes are, and gain is often talked about.
Sure. Spectral response.
Yep.
Cool.
What I imagine they did was like actually just watch a NASA launch.
And they were like, so gigahertz reflector efficiency.
Yeah.
It felt like when you're loading have the loading screen in Sims and it's like reticulating splines or whatever on the bottom of it. That's what I felt like that was.
These are all real terms that I can imagine being used in this context.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. I thought it was fake. And so actually, we have to give Moonraker more credit than I expected.
Yeah. Honestly, the science didn't bother me in this movie. It was just the fact that it was a bad movie that didn't hold my attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After that, there's a space fight. James Bond wins, obviously. He kicks...
Are you talking about the big laser fight out in space? Yeah.
Yes. He kicks Drax out of the airlock, Nightmare, and then he sleeps with Dr. Holly Goodhead. And he fully abandons Jaws and his new girlfriend to float off into space, even though they just saved his life.
They really do. I feel like it wouldn't have been that hard for Jaws and the girlfriend to get on to their little ship.
No, of course it wouldn't have. But it's like Jaws has this like realization that actually he and his girlfriend want to help James Bond because they don't want whatever is going on to happen to them, and they realize that the villain guy is mean and evil, etc.
So does Jaws ever return?
Yeah,
because
I think
what
so.
I wanted at the end of this movie was an end credit scene where we see Jaws and his girlfriend like landing safely back on, or not like roughly but safely, because this man has dodged death so many times that that's just what I wanted the end to be, and that didn't happen.
They do actually say in the end, there's like a line that says, Jaws and Dolly made it back to Earth safely. How? We don't know. But they do say that. And it's because they were going to try to bring him back because he's in, the first film that he's in is The Spy Who Loved Me. And then they were going to bring him back for a third film called For Your Eyes Only. But then they decided not to, because he was supposed to get married to his girlfriend named Dolly. Dolly. So, yeah, they decided.
And then they could have had kids named Jolly, and it would have been beautiful.
Yeah, and maybe the godmother could be Holly Goodhead.
Yes. All right, well, we've planned out the sequel, so.
We know in our heart what our heart canon for Jaws and Dolly is. And it's that they live, they're married, and they're happy, and they're thriving.
Hey there, Dr. Moiya here. Claire found the shoebox full of deleted scenes from old Hollywood film rolls that I just keep stashed in the corner, and I've been meaning to stitch them together into a Franken movie to screen for the Podiversity students, but I just never got around to it. You know how classes and research and grant applications can be. But she's looking probably, I think, for some old Bond film takes, and she has a pretty good chance of being successful. So I'm going to take these few moments to share a couple of messages with you. And the first message is a big thank you. Thank you to all of my patrons who support the show financially every month. As an independent podcaster, it would be really hard to make Pale Blue Pod without your support. So thank you so much. And I want to give a huge thank you and a special shout out to my Sun-like stars, Scott Reynolds, Augustin, Tom T, Nicole Bartlett, and Ashley Shambo. You are golden, you're all beautiful, and your coronas are 1,000,000 degrees, so just look at how hot you are. If you would like to support this indie podcast, join this awesome group of people, hear your name on the show, and get research notes for almost every episode, you can do that by joining at patreon.com/palebluepod for just $5 a month. You can also make a one-time donation as a supernova at the PayPal link in this episode's description. And of course, if you can't support the show financially, that's okay. You're still space, and I am the universe. Love you very much. The best way to help the show grow is actually to get more people listening to it. If I can improve my download numbers, then I can get more and better sponsors, and life would be great. So make listening to Pale Blue Pod a group activity. Send a link to a new episode to a friend or a family member. Have them listen to it, and then you can discuss it afterwards. Make more people a part of the Pale Blue Pod group and get more people befriending the universe. My next message is a podcast recommendation, and it's another show in the Multitude Collective. You actually heard one of the hosts on Pale Blue Pod last week with Dr. Sam Jones. I'm talking about Tiny Matters. This is an award-winning podcast about tiny things, from microbes to molecules, that have a big and often surprising impact on society. From deadly diseases to forensic toxicology to the search for extraterrestrial life, which we all know I love, hosts and former scientists Sam Jones and Deboki Chakravarty embrace both the awe and messiness of science. Tiny Matters is brought to you by the American Chemical Society, a nonprofit scientific organization based in D.C., and new episodes come out every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts, so check it out. All right. It looks like Claire found some unseen snippets of Roger Moore being extra campy. So now that she's a happy camper, let's move on to our peeves and thieves.
So that's the plot. I wrote down lots of miscellaneous thoughts.
What are some things that bothered you about this movie?
Well, the treatment of Jaws, I think, is abominable. I think that he is actually a very important character who does a lot of stuff. And even though he's bad, initially, he has a redemption arc. And I don't like that he gets kind of thrown away. I think that's terrible. And is treated as kind of unimportant, especially because he essentially sacrifices his life to save James Bond. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's upsetting.
Yeah, they did Jaws dirty.
For real. But that's also part of my thieves, I will say later, we can get there. Some other peeves. So this one plays into my specific area of research. And this actually is an example of how this relates to one another. In the book version of Moonraker,
There's a book version.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
All the James Bond films are based on books. It starts off as a book series.
Oh, I knew that the character was from a book, but I didn't realize that all of the movies are like, adaptations of books.
Yeah, well, most of them. Yeah, most of them are by Sir Ian Fleming. So a key part of the villain, Hugo Drax, is that he is this like weird eugenicist guy. Which is bad. And that's not even my peeve necessarily. So like he says things like, your seed, like yourselves, will pay deference to the ultimate dynasty, which I alone have created. From their first day on earth, they will be able to look up and know there is law and order in the heavens.
Hated that.
At one point, JB says, I'm leaving you on your flying stud farm conceiving your master race. So he's like this weird eugenicist guy. In the book, he is literally a Nazi. It makes me mad that they left that out.
Yeah. Why?
He has all the
1979
trappings.
wasn't 2025. Nazis were bad then.
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, yes. And also another weird sort of confluence of things here with the space billionaire being really into making a master race, can I just say?
Yeah.
And being like, I want to have 1 million babies. We are making big eyes at each other through the screen right now. But he literally is a Nazi in the books, and I feel like it's frustrating that they've left him with all the trappings of being a Nazi, but haven't left him with the actual association. And the reason for that is because of the Cold War, because there is a movement towards caring about things like the Soviet Union and the space race, and away from caring about Nazi Germany. And that doesn't become popular to care about again until like the late 70s, early 80s. They're just a little bit behind the times on that.
Fascinating. Yeah. Well, yeah, they really should have kept it in, but it is fascinating to know the background of why they didn't.
In the book, he was a Nazi who then stole the identity of a Jewish man and the money of a Jewish man. And he had been like a concentration camp guard, I think. Don't quote me on that. Or had worked as like a scientist at a concentration camp, and then used that money to fund, by the way, his mining empire. Can I just say he has mining money also.
The parallels don't stop.
It's wild. He does that to fund this sort of mining enterprise, and then that's how he makes $1 billion, and that's how he becomes a space guy.
Yeah, because building a city ship in space with apparently, top of the line cloaking technology would cost so much money and take so much time. So, okay, that's good to know.
My friends and I have like an ongoing running joke that I cannot watch a single film without a Nazi appearing in it. Like my research just shows up all the time. And I was watching this and I was like, damn it.
They're right again.
What? I didn't even remember that being part of this. I was so taken by the space thing that I forgot the master race thing.
Although it wasn't all white people, which was nice to see.
All races welcome in the master race. I will say that my peeves, or most people's peeves, will be about James Bond as a franchise and as these archetypes, right? Like they don't like how women are portrayed, and that's totally reasonable. It comes with the territory with James Bond. Like that's part of the deal.
That is, none of my peeves are that. No, I knew what I was getting into. Let's see. So one of my peeves is that funicular, the cable car fighting scene. Having seen the end of the movie, I know why James Bond didn't just kill Jaws with one of the special dart things that he got from Q. But during that whole fight scene, I was like, you just kill this man. Just like you've killed so many people. Use your special arrow thing and shoot him off of this cable car. What are you doing? That annoyed me. Also, just like zip lining, just holding on to a chain with his bare hands while another human hangs off of him. Absolutely ridiculous. Who built that cable car system? Because why was there no fail-safe to keep the carriage from crashing into the control room?
Great question. Who knows?
So those were some peeves.
Those are very reasonable peeves. I feel you highlighted something that's very important in James Bond, which is that this man will kill anyone. He feels no compunction about killing literally anyone except villains, which for some reason he leaves alive. And that always happens, and I don't get it.
Okay. Yeah, I was like screaming at the TV, like, what? Just kill this man.
You could shoot him with the gun that you have. There are many ways.
Right. And like, really, you know, if a waterfall doesn't get him, if falling from a plane without a parachute does not kill this man, take the pride, like, do it, just push him off, something.
Anything.
So that was one peeve. My next peeve, to address your question about the laser fight in space, none of them were tethered to the spaceship, which is completely irresponsible. We have only ever done a handful of untethered spacewalks in the history of NASA. Out of the more than 100 people who have been up into space, you are always connected to the spacecraft, and they sent dozens of people out there to engage in warfare without any sort of tie. But it's fine, because apparently in this universe, the conservation of momentum doesn't exist. Like, none of them were moving around in space anyway. So no, that's not how it would go. Like, they are actively firing weapons. They are being hit by weapons that would provide a force that would move them in a direction, and then they wouldn't be able to stop. So, like,
surely. I mean, I also think it's funny that your issue with the tethering is, like, not that it's unrealistic, but that it's irresponsible. When they're doing their laser fight, they're being very irresponsible about it.
Yes. It's bad planning. How are you going to have the master race if you lose all of the men to wander out in space?
Yeah.
Also, where did all of the women go? Like, during the big fight scene in the ship, they all disappeared?
Let women explode stuff is my main goal in life. And I feel like this movie did not let women explode stuff. There are other James Bond films where women do a lot of exploding stuff. Okay. For example, in Die Another Day, Halle Berry, who plays the love interest in it, she is blowing shit up throughout that whole movie. She's jumping off cliffs. She's exploding stuff all the time. And they should have had that energy in this one. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It felt very, protect the women and children, but there are no children. It, like, send them to the safe cavern underground. Like, I just wanted to see hot ladies in spacesuits firing lasers. I should have had that.
You should have. You're so right. The issue is not the treatment of Holly Goodhead. The issue is that she's not allowed to shoot people.
Mm-hmm. And then my fourth and final peeve is that we never went to the fucking moon. Yeah. It's called Moonraker. The moon had nothing to do with it. And they were already being ridiculous enough in making me suspend my disbelief that there's a city ship with, like, cloaking technology. Put it on the fucking moon, right? Just take your rockets to the moon, and then I would have been fine.
It would have been, honestly, you're so right. Can I just say, you're so right, and you're so real for that.
Thank you.
They should have put the city on the moon. There should have been a secret moon city, much cooler than floating.
Cooler.
Much, much cooler. Mm-hmm. Imagine James Bond walking around the moon.
I would have loved to see that. A laser battle on the moon? So
incredible.
Much better.
I wish we had gotten to see that.
Then they wouldn't have had to be tethered, but they could have done their little bunny hops.
Yeah. Because
of the lower gravity, like that. Okay.
Follow-up question. Why on earth have we ever had anyone doing an untethered spacewalk?
If they don't have to go very far, I guess.
Oh, not very far, like outer space?
So these are all around the International Space Station. But if they don't have to go very far from the hatch, like if they're just doing a control panel that's, like, right by the door or something, they wouldn't necessarily be tethered.
Irresponsible.
I agree. Gravity can happen at any moment. There are tens of thousands of pieces of space junk just floating around out there. You never know when it's going to crash through your space station.
You're so right. Merch idea, gravity can happen anytime. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing some space junk out there.
Yeah. The ominous warning.
It's waiting for you to do something untethered. I'm just saying, you were like, oh, we've only done that a handful of times, but these laser fighters are irresponsible. And I was like, we need to rewind to the ones who are just doing that without the laser fight involved.
Usually, like, it's pretty chill up there. So it's fine. But no, always be tethered.
To me, that is ultimate hubris. To be like, what's going to get me? I'm only in space. I'm just saying.
You know what? Did you just inspire me thinking of like a new myth about the gods of space who
that's a great
punish
idea.
Humans for being having too much hubris? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
100%. First on the list, James Bond is going straight to space hell.
Then it would make so much more sense for them to turn those people into constellations like they did.
Yeah, I agree. You're totally right.
Thieves.
Jaws' love story. So I'm sad about the end of his story. But I love when a bad guy gets a redemption arc that feels sweet and tender. And Jaws and Dolly, they like love each other. And it's very clear in the film that they like love each other. And so I love that redemption arc. I think that's amazing, actually.
Yeah, the part where Drax is talking about how, everyone in the future will be perfect, like a perfect specimen, and James Bond is looking at Jaws like, oh, like, do you think you fit into this? And then the wordless communication, like there was this sequence of shots where Jaws and Dolly are looking at each other, and you can see the love passing between them. Like they clearly have this bond that is cement strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Some other things that I really liked. So we've talked about this a little bit before, but I really like some of the Cold War politics that this movie winks at a lot. They're a little bit overplayed. They're a little bit intense, and it's ridiculous. A lot of times with things like the Cold War, you'll feel the tensions, but it won't be directly addressed head on. And I feel like Moonraker does something in between those two things, which is interesting. Like, for example, there's the random appearance of a Soviet politician at one point in it. Like, there's a point where they call, like, Britain and the U.S. are calling the Soviet Union to be like, hey, are you the person who put this floating city in space? And the politician is like, no. And America's like, well, we didn't either. And so then there's this, but it's funny that they like actually include that a little bit. He meaning JB, my boy JB, also talks about, before he hooks up with Dr. HGH, talks about a need for détente and cooperation before he hooks up with her. So they even make like sex jokes about the Cold War. In it, which I love. So that's always funny to me when you can see like real historical tensions being like joked about within the context of a film.
Yeah, I can see that. Is that it? Or do you want to?
I don't know if I have any other thieves other than I just love like the campiness of it, which we addressed a little bit earlier. I love that. I love the look of it. I think it's so funny. I think the outfits are hilarious. I think the sets are even funnier. It's so camp. And there's a movement, especially in the most recent like Daniel Craig Bond films, there's been a movement away from the campiness of it. And there are different, like each different James Bond actor and group of people who produce it, each one is a little bit different in terms of energy. So like Sean Connery is like suave and sexy, and Sean Connery as a person, terrible person, by the way. But as an actor, like the way he plays James Bond is this like really like, there's a little bit of campiness to it, but like Roger Moore is the campy, like the camp James Bond. And Daniel Craig is very serious. And Pierce Brosnan is just like, kind of has uncle vibes, but like Roger Moore is like, this is like peak James Bond camp. All of his movies are, and I really appreciate it. Like that aesthetically is very funny and like fun to watch. At least terrible movie, as we've established, really fun to look at, which I love and appreciate.
Well, we haven't done the rubric yet. It might score higher than we expect.
True, and I don't know what the rubric is, to be clear.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe there's a surprise there. But no, I all of my thieves are like science-y thieves. I liked most of the concepts of science that they showed in this movie. The centrifuge that simulates the G-forces, where they get the people who are going to go up on Moonraker to practice launch, that was pretty realistic. Dr. I can't even say her name with a straight face. Dr. Goodhead does talk about how 3 G-forces is what people experience during launch, and that's true. Yeah, it's like 3 to 6 Gs. And so they were pretty accurate. When they did the artificial gravity on the ship, I also thought that was nice. So in general, I like the way they simulated gravity here. they mentioned there's that moment where they have to like initiate the environment controls in the city spaceship, and they use rotation to simulate gravity here. So they are physically rotating the city ship. And the way that would work is that the centripetal force would pull everyone to the side walls. And that is a way to simulate gravity, but not in the way that they like showed it inside.
Like, what's that, like the theme park ride, the like centripetal force one, the Gravitron or whatever it is?
Yeah, so the idea with rotationally generated artificial gravity is that you are like stuck to the walls of that ride. But I just like that they addressed it. You know, what was the execution of it completely accurate? Absolutely not. But one of my biggest peeves in science fiction is when you just don't explain at all how you're doing something. So even the fact that they put in this amount of effort was good for me.
The part where Bond survives 13 Gs of force during his centrifuge torture scene, is that plausible?
I mean, he's James Bond.
He can do anything.
He can do anything, yeah. I was talking to my friend, like the best fighter pilots will experience like 9 Gs. 13 seems ridiculous.
Yeah, that seems intense.
He's James Bond. Yeah, so I don't think that was quite right, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Another thief of my heart, which goes to your sex in space question, is that couple on Moonraker who they were ready to repopulate immediately. They were ready to jump each other's bones on the ship, and I love that. First of all, like, yes, you know, do you have fun, but also it would be a great research opportunity because we don't really know how conception works in space. We've done some studies on animals like cockroaches, some rats, a couple types of fish. We have tried to watch them conceive in space. The cockroaches did, you know, like they conceived, they were born, they were brought back to Earth, and most of them were fine, but they were a slightly different color.
Whoa.
Yeah, they were like more red than brown.
I have never thought about this in my life.
And gravity does a lot to help with our natural biological processes.
Of course.
Not just conception, but like parts of the gestation are going to rely on gravity. And our bodies, it's a very harsh environment out there. There's more radiation. Our bones and our muscles are weird under microgravity. So like if we don't use them enough, then they can atrophy. So I would love to turn this into a little study. You know, have some of the people conceive on the city ship, have some people conceive outside without the artificial gravity, and let's see what happens.
Okay, by the way, pervert Moiya. I would love to make a study where I make people conceive in space. No.
I'm not making the study. I'm not going for IRB approval.
It were.
No. I'm just saying if there's already a scenario where people are doing it in space, I'm going to take that free data and do cool science with it.
Fair. You know what? You're so right. And I shouldn't have doubted you.
Sure, the pervert Moiya. But yeah, I'd say let's study this. And NASA's official stance is that no humans have had sex in space. But come on. The International Space Station has been continuously occupied since Halloween of 2000. You're telling me in the last 25 years no one's tried to knock boots? I mean, just like there's so many things that count as sex. Like people must have had sex in space.
There sure are. And you know what? I will say this, and I'm happy to go on record saying this. I've said all kind of wild stuff in my capacity as a historian. Since humans have been around, we've been doing it in places that we're not supposed to. People have sex in environments that are so traumatic, environments that are incredibly harsh. We will find a way to do it if we can. It is a biological urge that most people experience.
Logistically, it might be difficult, but I think people would be up for the challenge.
Well, yes.
And we've thought about it. Like there was this woman who invented a 2-person suit that basically velcros you together so you can thrust with the conservation of angular momentum being true, and so you can thrust without being separated.
You know what breeds human innovation? Breeding.
Horniness.
If we can find a way to do it, by God, we will. And yes, I think, you're right. I'm glad to know that is accurate. Although it is interesting that there have been people who've been in space for months, and the idea that there's nothing going on.
Come on.
There are those people who've been stuck up there for
months.
That just came back down after like a year of being. And I'm not saying they did anything, but I'm saying people do stuff.
People do stuff. You mean to tell me that you're getting the physically fittest, smartest people that humanity has to offer? You're putting them in an isolated place where stressful things happen,
and they don't know if they'll live or die.
That's a romance book just waiting. Yeah.
Come on.
That's a thief. My final thief is this one line that James Bond has where he says, I didn't think there were any seasons in space, because Drax says something like, your winter is coming or whatever.
Down. He says, as far as you're concerned, only winter.
There are no seasons in space. Our seasons are merely a consequence of the orientation of our planet. So he was right. Yay.
Shout out to JB. He knows his science. He can fly a space shuttle.
Smart and strong. A gentleman and a scholar.
Much like we all hope one day to be.
So now we have to rate the movie on our very official Pale Blue Pod movie rubric. There are 5 different categories. The first category is the story. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. The plot, what do we like about it? Then there's the scenery, which is really just like the production value of the movie. Then there's steaminess, which is not about how much steaminess, but how appropriate the level of steaminess was for the movie.
Okay.
Then there's scientific accuracy. And then there's soothing. How good does this movie make us feel about the universe and our place in it?
Okay.
So starting with story, on a scale from 0 to 3 Moonrakers, what do you think it should get? What do you think of the story?
Oh, low, unfortunately, because I don't think there's a lot of real plot happening here, unfortunately. I think a lot of things happen, but I don't think there's that much of a continuous story other than JB good, Holly Goodhead hot, Drax bad. I think that's kind of...
Yeah, there's a lot of extra in there.
So I would say maybe like 1.25.
Solid.
Is that low?
Solid.
I don't know. I
don't think that's too low. I would not have been shocked with anything between 1 and 1.5.
Yeah, so, 1.25. Yeah. I'm new to Podiversity, so...
You're doing great. Let's move on to scenery. What do we think of the production value of this movie? I was impressed. For 1979?
Yeah.
I hated the space fight, the laser fight, but that's not their fault.
Well, it's truly only their fault.
Yeah.
But I do think visually, regardless of scientific accuracy, it's fun to look at. It is a fun movie to watch and look at. You know, it's not on the level of like movies made in 2024.
We got to adjust.
But for a movie made in 1979, it's fun. I love old movies is also a thing. Yeah. I like to take them at face value and just enjoy them for what they are.
Yeah. We're not judging this by 2025 production standards.
Yeah. What would your moon rating be?
I'd probably give it like a 2.5.
Yeah. I think 2.5 is solid.
Yeah. 2. Do we want to do 2.25, split the difference?
Yeah, 2.25.
Okay. That'll make the math easier, too. Now, what about steaminess? This is interesting for a Bond film, because part of the genre is that he's got to hook up with a bunch of women who I can't tell apart.
Yes, that is part of the thing. I will say also, Bond does like women of... Yeah. In case you want to involve this, he does like women of lots of different races. That is part of the James Bond thing, is he is interested in all kind of ladies.
I did notice that, which was good. But I couldn't tell the pilot or Holly Goodhead, or there was another white lady in there. I couldn't tell them apart.
No, and you wouldn't be able to, and that's okay, because I couldn't either, and nobody could, because that's not the point. Cool. Steaminess, though, I think high. I think it's very appropriate. Yeah. It's actually one of the less horny Bond films, I will say, because there are some where he's the whole way through.
I have a question about this. My friend and I were talking about this. What forms of contraception does he use? Because surely it's not in the interest of MI6 to have this man leaving his DNA all over the world. Maybe it wasn't a problem for 1979 James Bond, but 2025 James Bond surely has to think about that. Right?
One might think. And in later films, they do address, like, you're lucky there aren't a million James Bond running around and stuff. Like, they do talk about that. It is never, ever addressed what kind, if any. But you also have to think about the idea that James Bond, the first one, start coming out around this, like, sexual revolution in America and in the UK, or the Western sexual revolution, we'll say, so like 1960s. So women having access to things like abortion and birth control mean that you don't have to talk about contraception anymore, because the assumption is that women are on contraceptives.
Got it.
So that would be my history take on it, is my guess.
My headcanon was that all of the 00 agents they just get a vasectomy as part of their initiation. Automatic. Oh, you want to be in MI6? Go get it snipped. That's what I would do.
Entry requirement.
Okay, but I agree. A high score here is appropriate. We could give it a 3 if you want to give it a 3.
I think giving James Bond anything other than a 3 on steaminess is disrespectful to the genre, to the man himself.
Okay, then we move on to scientific accuracy, which, as I said, I didn't have that many problems. Conceptually, I think it did some good stuff. I doubt that they were really thinking this through, but I love that the people who were out in space, I guess Drax, he gets put out into space. I like that they didn't have him freeze immediately. That is something that a lot of sci-fi does, but they didn't take that route. I would give it a middle-of-the-road score, because it's not really trying to trick anyone into thinking that this is how space actually works. Anywhere from a 1.5.
Okay, I don't know anything about any of this, so I trust you.
Okay, great. Well then, how soothed are you by this movie? How soothed do you think the average person would be after watching this movie about space stuff?
About space.
Yeah, about, their place in the universe. Does this movie make the universe seem more or less frightening?
It makes you more scared of humans, but not more scared of the universe, if that makes sense. Because it's like, anybody can fly a space shuttle. If you get to somewhere and they have good technology, you're fine. You can walk around, you can shoot stuff, you can bang your doctor girlfriend. You can do whatever. I think that is also a middle of the road one. I think that's a 1.5 for me.
Okay.
I find it very soothing, because I find all James Bond films soothing because they're about nothing.
Yeah, it's there in the background. It's entertainment.
Yeah. You don't go in with stakes. Like, you're not like, and I hope this will make me feel a certain kind of way. That's why the Daniel Craig films are such a departure from some of the other ones, because they actually do try to make you feel a certain kind of thing. But these earlier 70s, 80s, 90s Bond films are not like that.
Yeah. Okay, so 1.5.
1.5.
Great. Let me add that up. Let me do some math. We got 3 and a 6 and a, okay. Was it 9? 9.5. 9.5 Moonrakers out of 15. Do you think that fits?
Yeah.
Is that a good score?
Yeah. Slightly under 2/3. That feels good.
Yeah.
It's not high art, as we've established.
No, but it's also not so bad that I regret watching it, or like I wouldn't tell someone not to watch this movie.
No. You'd be like, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're looking for a 70s Bond film, like go try it. It'll be entertaining.
Yeah. Why not?
Excellent.
Totally.
Thank you for telling me about this movie. Thank you for suggesting it.
I'm so glad. I as soon as you were like, I think you said you've never watched any Bond films, or very few.
Very few, like maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah,
some
and
of the Daniel Craig's.
We have got to rectify this situation immediately.
Immediately. We sure did. Yeah, I am glad I watched it. I'm glad I know about Moonraker now. Now that we are at the end of the episode, I would love for you to tell us about your work and where we can find it online. How do you want people to follow you?
Yeah, I do a lot of things. You can find me personally on Twitter and Blue Sky. Go on Blue Sky. Twitter is a cesspool. run by Hugo Drax. But it's, my name is C.E. Aubin on both of those. You can also, and the thing I would love for you to do, if you like listening to me, I have a podcast also through Multitude, which Moiya mentioned. It is called This Guy Sucked. And on it, I have a new guest every week who is a scholar talking about someone from their research that they hate, basically. And we do historical revision, but for the good of humanity. You can find that at thisguysuck.com. You can find us on any podcast provider you want. You can find us through Multitude. Moiya was on an episode that recently came out where she told us all about Ptolemy.
I'm not the best at being a hater, but I had a good time.
No, it was okay. I totally dragged you into it. Like, I made you hate him, so it was okay. Like, there's a point in it where you say, I started out not knowing if I hated him, and now I do. So we got you there. You did great. And you can follow us or that through our Instagram and also on Blue Sky and Twitter at This Guy Sucked. On both of those. Excellent. And our Instagram is where the good stuff happens, to be honest. So, yeah.
Okay. Then that is the link that I will include in the show notes.
Please
so
do.
Listeners, just go down to the episode description and you'll be able to follow This Guy Sucked and listen to it. It's so fun. It's so fun. By haters, for haters.
Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, Claire, I've had a great time discussing this. I feel like I need to get on a plane because so many countries were featured in that. And, I've just been in New York this whole time. But listeners, no matter when your next international vacay is planned, you're still space. Pale Blue Pod is hosted by me, Dr. Moiya McTier, a.k.a. the universe's bestie. I created the show with original co-host Corinne Caputo, a comedienne extraordinaire, and help from the Multitude Productions team. Our theme music is by Evan Johnston, and our cover art is by Shay McMullen, and our audio editing is handled by the incomparable Misha Stanton. I am Go Astro Mo everywhere online, and you can stay in touch with the show and the universe by following Pale Blue Pod on Instagram or checking out our website, palebluepod.com. We are a member of Multitude, an independent podcast collective and production studio. So if you like Pale Blue Pod, you will love the other shows that live at multitude.productions. And if you want a shout out on the show and research notes for every episode, you can join our community over at patreon.com/palebluepod for just about $1 per episode. Thank you so much for listening to Pale Blue Pod. I'll be back next week. Bye.